Hey, Key, it is such a pleasure to join you today. I love the idea that we're going to jam on and talk about prospectors and what makes an incredible prospector and just an opportunity for us to celebrate prospectors, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you, as well as I, we get so much out of working with people who are willing to put themselves out there and create a really successful business out of prospecting. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, prospecting is courage.
Yeah.
Prospecting is real estate. Prospecting is actually love. People think that prospector annoy consumers. That's not their mindset. The mindset of a prospector is to serve. It is to help them understand what's happening in the market. They understand the distinction between serving with the fiduciary mindset versus manipulating or taking advantage of consumers. Those we don't call those prospectors. They're outside the realm of our reality, right?
No, 100%. And I think when an agent, when it clicks for them, really clicks, and they make that choice that I'm going to go out and I'm not going to rely on anybody else, but I'm going to create my business by going out and talking to people and building relationships and finding how I can be of service to these people. That's what it is, being of service and educating. You take the fear out of buying and selling, but it first starts with the agents that make the choice that I'm going to put myself in this uncomfortable position. I'm going to muster up the courage. That's the first step, is making that choice, right?
Right. And what's interesting, at the beginning of it, it feels like you need to build courage to do it. You need to be have a superpower for it. It is not a superpower. It is more of a realization that when we go canvassing, and I prefer the word canvassing rather than just the word soliciting. I hate the word
Oh,
soliciting. I
no.
prefer
Yeah.
canvassing because canvassing means engagement. For me, when you go canvassing, you're having conversations. You're just there to be present for another being who may or may not have a real estate question or an idea in mind. And if you negotiate that properly and you are of the mindset of service,
Yeah.
that fear will start fading. That thing, that anxiety, like what's going to happen, will start becoming a secondary thing. It's more like, oh, I'm serving my neighbors. I'm connecting with them. I'm not selling them anything.
Oh, if you were selling, it would be painful and you wouldn't be able to remain committed to the process. But the whole idea that you're willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable position long enough that it becomes the habit. And that's what I focus on is let's develop the habit of prospecting consistently. And it's not rocket science prospecting because you are just going out and having conversations in a very detailed format. Like you're in control of the conversation, you're qualifying the people as you're out there speaking with them, but you're building relationships. And so agents have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And I have so much respect for the agents that are going to put themselves in that spot and work through it. You know, it's like Wayne Gretzky or any professional athlete. They say, I think I listened to a conversation with my youngest who's in hockey, and he said, do you know Wayne Gretzky just went out and he would shoot 150 pucks a day into the net, trying to get the same angle every single time? And I said, wow, is that boring? And Fergus lights up and he's like, that's not boring because I love shooting pucks, right? If you love the idea of building relationships with people and you just go out and you do it repeatedly, it starts to become this really incredible experience that you have with other people. And these people that are willing to put them on, that like to learn this prospecting habit, um, they become really good conversationalists. They become really good at reading personalities on the doorstep. They get really good at qualifying and they start to get joy and satisfaction. And then they go home that night and they're like, I own my day and they feel good about it. Right. And that's when the business starts to come in from all over. It's a beautiful technique in really cultivating more out of an agent. Right.
But you're talking about action.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky didn't say think about hitting the
No.
puck. He said do 150, just
Every day.
like just like any other athlete. You take any athlete that is worth their soul, what they do, they understand the power of repetition and action. They take the action. Now, will they get it right all the time? Absolutely not. You cannot learn real estate by reading about it. You
No.
cannot read. By the way, I'm going to say something even worse for the two of us. You cannot learn real estate from us
Yeah.
unless you realize that what you're learning from us is you taking action. We create what are called the platform, the agenda. We deconstruct the mindset of approaching it. That's what we do. We deconstruct it so that you go, I don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you still have to take the action.
Oh, I know. People, when they start door knocking with me, they say, "Oh, I've come back with this script." I'm like, "No, no, there's no altering the script. You know, the script is a guideline for you to adhere to so that you can start that consistency and you can go out and you can practice it just like Wayne Gretzky shooting the puck. You stick to that script and you get really good if you stick to the script, reading the people, qualifying the people, and starting to feel the people on the other side of the phone or the other side of the door. But you've got to take the action, which starts, like I said, 5 minutes ago, making the choice. But then you have to hold yourself to the fire and go do it 4 days a week consistently and hit the same number of contacts, because we know this real estate is a numbers game, right? And if you go out with this strong, strong desire, which I'll talk about in a minute, to take the action, because if you just say go out and take the action, people aren't going to maintain it, right? But if they have a desire of something they want to create or a goal that they want to manifest, and they use that action, they use that goal to get out into the action consistently, and then they use that action to build up their business, it starts to feed each other. But yeah, we've got to take action. We've got to go out and practice. You've got to fall down. You've got to scrape your knee. You've got to get back on the bike again. And you've got to be willing to do that. And that's what I love most about, people who've created amazing businesses prospecting. They're willing to go through that uncomfortable spot to get to the other side. And you know what? The people who do it, they always get to the other side. They
Correct.
always do, right?
Right. So you are correct. You need the desire at the beginning. You need a reason for doing what you need to do. So you create, sometimes you even have to tell your mind that this is what is more important than my comfort zone, because your comfort zone will always tell you no. It's easier to say no than to say yes. It's easier to sleep in than to go running. It's much easier. There's no effort. It's like bad habits. If you want to watch Netflix until midnight eating bonbon, you do not need a coach. You could do that in 2 seconds. Bad habits are easy to develop. Good habits require intention. They require that desire that who I am today, I'm going to, by doing the action, I'm going to get better. That desire sometimes can fade. So that's why you have the desire. But there's a point at which you move past desire. You start realizing this is who I am. This is what I do. I am of service to the neighbors, to the area where I work, whether it's Cedar Rapids, whether it's Charlotte, North Carolina, or Wilmington, or anywhere. You start seeing it as part of who you are and part of what you do. And that's when it all clicks.
Well, and it's being willing to master the art of it, right? And you have to have non-negotiables. So non-negotiables, I say you start at the same time every day on the same days, very routine, very pattern-like. And you have to make that choice in your mind that nothing is going to interrupt my process. Not taking a listing, not taking buyers out, not dealing with the kids. Like, you tell everybody around you, this is what I'm doing between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock, or 9:30 and 11:30. And it's a non-negotiable. So agents have to be really clear on what those non-negotiables are and remain consistent with it to create that action that will eventually become the habit, right?
Right?
But you have to make that choice. And agents who do that, it's just all the monkeys come off their shoulders, because now they start connecting with people. And I always joke, there's 3 different phases to prospecting. The first phase is you're awkward and uncomfortable and you're consumed with yourself. You're almost narcissistic. I'm bugging people, and and the second phase is, oh my gosh, everybody's nice. I love it. Because most people are really decent human beings, despite the media and the news, right?
Right?
And then the third step is after they get past, because they want to They want to follow up with everybody that's nice, and that's not selling real estate. You work with qualified people who have to move within a certain time frame. And then the third phase you move into is, oh, now we're selling real estate. These are the qualified people. These are the people that are moving more than a year out. These are the people that are sitting on the fence. These are the people that are absolutely not moving. And remember, a good prospector starts to figure out, oh, these people at some point may need my services, but I'm not going to waste my time spinning around with these people. I'm just going to focus on the people who have to move in the next 12 months. They're going to get all of my attention and my follow up, and I'm going to go to work and educate them. And once they get to that third level, the agents, they get past the narcissism and the, everybody's awesome, and they just really start focusing on the real estate. They start to cook. And that takes, I don't know what your opinion on it, but 7 to 12 months typically
Mhm.
to get the mastering, the non-negotiables consistent, and then really getting good where you're present on the doorstep or you're present on that phone call and you can actually hear. You're listening. You're not so consumed with yourself. You can hear that somebody actually needs your services and you can go to work for them, right?
Correct. And a lot of people, the mistake they make, they think it's about memorization. It's about memorizing. It's not. Repetition helps you disappear. What I mean by disappear is when you're doing something for the first time, the nervousness of your doing it for the first time, not knowing what to say, what if they ask me this, what if they ask me, that is absolutely normal. That happens to all of us. So expect that to happen. But there's a point at which, with repetition, the non-negotiable you're talking about, when you do the non-negotiable, there's a point at which, when you're present with someone, you are no longer there. You disappear. You're present to them. So you're not worried, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? Do I look okay? Did I say the wrong thing? You no longer worry about those things because they disappear. But they don't until you make it a commitment and you actually do it today and tomorrow and the day after, whether you like it or not, which you just said, non-negotiable.
Yeah. And you have to give yourself the opportunity to grow through that. And I always say the way you feel today is not going to be the way you feel 6 months down the road. It's not even going to be the way you feel 2 weeks from now, really, if you make a commitment to this. And so are you willing to be uncomfortable long enough and keep learning your own process? So like you say, you can fade away and just be 100% present and listening. And I call it breathing on the doorstep because you're able to breathe. You're taking in what they're offering you up. And you're able, like everybody asks me, what objection handlers do you have? What one-liners do you have? And I say, that's probably what I get emailed the most from people. And when you're present in the moment, you're just answering the questions honestly. Just honestly, no fast ones, no bear trap closes. And I think people think as soon as they hear the word prospecting, it's got to be bear trap closes. And that's not what it is. It's giving yourself the opportunity to be present and just in the flow of the conversation within the guidelines on the doorstep. So it's a beautiful process once somebody actually engages in it like that. I was going to add to one of your points, but I think I lost my train of thought. It's the greatest gift an agent can give themselves,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Or you can go back to the office and you can bitch about the market and you get frustrated with your brokers and you can compare your comparison, killer of joy.
Oh,
You
yeah.
compare yourself to all the other agents and what they're driving and how many listings they have. But those are all distractions. And I think really good agents who have mastered this, they don't allow themselves to be distracted by all the noise. The idea that the market exists between my ears and my ears are just focused and honed in on hearing the people who have a need. And then I'm going in and providing them with the information and I'm taking the pain out of buying and selling for them. Um, so
And this is
those,
and this is why we admire them. See, this
yeah,
is why you and I not only love, admire, respect prospectors, because they're the go-getters. They
yeah,
go for it. They don't sit and complain. They're coachable. Coachable means that they want to tweak. They know what needs to happen, but they go, I'm trying this. Can you give me a little bit of coaching? Can you help me overcome this thing? But they're not coming at it from perfection. They're coming at it from tweaking, from
willing,
getting better. Exactly.
willing.
So they do when they're doing role play, they do real role playing. They're not like trying to figure out all the answers. They work through the process. They actually implement what they learn. They take good notes. That's why I call somebody coachable. That means they are always honing in. They're always sharpening the saw. They're getting better. They want to. It's not about the sale anymore. It's about the connection for them.
Yeah.
It's about, did I connect well? Did I really connect with that homeowner at the door who was not moving? Did I connect with them even though they're not moving? And that's fine with me. But did I have a good connection? Did I leave them thinking that they just met a professional at the door, a real estate advisor, somebody who's thoughtful, somebody who's a fiduciary? And that's the game, because when you play that game, you play a much different game than chasing the sale, than chasing the money. This is why we respect them so much. There aren't that many of them.
No, because the majority of people are not willing first to make the choice that they want to use this as a method to build their business. And then they're not willing to feel uncomfortable. But these people who are coachable, teachable, and trainable, I use the word willing, um, because well, the best agents that I've coached are the ones that come in and they say, just teach me. I'm willing to take a risk in whatever you're saying. I trust. It's a lot of trust.
Of course.
It's a lot of trust, right? That they're not going to be left feeling stupid or left, hanging at the doorstep, not have the right answers for the people. And mostly it's mental process. It's a psychological process, right? Because I always say a monkey could go out and door knock or get on the phones and make cold calls. I call them warm calls. But to be able to do that, you have to be willing to be in that space. So, but it takes self-discipline.
Yep.
And you have to be so, I don't want to use the word hard on yourself, but you have to be, it's a line in the sand between this time and this time. I'm not doing anything else other than that. Because if you start to let your family and other agents seep in, it's a distraction. And so really good agents have learned how to master their time, and they don't let anything in, because they know their joy is going to come from this process. Because what prospecting does with really good agents is it takes the fear away from them where that next paycheck's going to come from. And they start to build up this funnel, right?
Right.
And what I respect most about these agents is they start to operate in a fearless manner, and they're not focusing on their own inhibitions anymore. Now, like you said, they're focusing on, how can I serve? How can I show up for my community? And when you show up for your community, that's when you start getting referrals and you start building the business. And people who prospect consistently, they'll go take a listing a week minimum, because they've put in the time, they've felt uncomfortable, they were willing to learn, they were super disciplined with themselves, and now they start to reap the rewards. And then what we're coaching them on is stay consistent with the prospecting. Don't let all the fluff of all the business and all the people wanting to actually do transactions with you, don't let that go out the window don't let the prospecting go out the window while you get busy fussing around with the actual business. You got to keep what always works. Right.
And this is why the spring and summer are the most difficult thing, because a lot of agents get busy with the busyness of the business, but they don't get busy focusing on the prospecting of the business. You must prospect no less than 2 hours a day. And there are days when you can't. You have to put in at least 2 hours a day of prospecting on the phone and in person. You have to go prospecting in person at least once a week. That's your minimum. We prefer 2. We prefer 3.
My minimum, so I'm a little bit different. My minimum is 4 days a week.
Yes, correct. Hold on. I totally agree with you. But I'm just saying, life happens and then everything gets negotiated out. So there are some minimums that have to happen. So if you develop that muscle and you make it non-negotiable, and you know how to, take care of your sleep, you're waking up in the morning, arranging your day, coaching your family to support you during that process, you're going to do much better. But again, it's not easy. And this is why we respect and love prospectors.
I love when I visit prospectors when I'm traveling and speaking, and I get to go to their homes and have dinner with their families. And their families are also trained in, well, that's what dad does between 4 and 6. And like everybody around them knows it because they've communicated this is a priority for me to be balanced in my mind and to be consistent with my business coming in. Doesn't it feel good when you know where your business is coming from? You're not sitting waiting for somebody to walk in the door. But it takes a lot of mental priming and more mental priming than the actual action, I would say, willing to get past this fear. And we've got so many stories in our head. Like, I remember taking this one guy out to the doors for the first time, and he started to say, well, we can't really knock on that door. And I was like, why not? And he said, well, there's pizza boxes outside. And I was like, and he said, well, they were probably partying last night and they're probably hungover and they're sleeping. Then we go to the next door and he's like, well, we probably should knock on this door. There's a baby carriage. And then it just went on and on every single door. And I said, look at the creativity. I don't
Yes.
know. We get so creative. And the real door knockers, the real prospectors, the people that are doing this consistently, they've learned the difference between those voices in their head that are fear, and they're able to tap into their desires. And like I said, you need a really good goal to be able to be consistent at the doors, because you're going to be thinking about that swimming pool or that trip you're taking your family on. That's the reason to get out when it's cold and awful. And good prospectors go out all year, and they go out consistently. And when everybody lays off in December, guess what they're doing? They're out hunting, and it gives them peace of mind. And isn't that what everybody's after in this world? Peace of mind, feeling secure. And the security is not coming from outside, it's coming from inside, because they're cultivating it by going and taking these actions and working on their mindset.
So, as we end this video, we want you all to know that Erica loves you. I love you. Everybody who works with any agent who says, I don't know what to do, but get me there. I'm coachable. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to rehearse my script. I'm going to take action. I'm going to go out there. You need to understand, we're here. We're here to support you on that journey. It is not going to be easy from the get-go. You will stumble, but we will catch you. We will show you how to prioritize that mindset of success. And it starts with your commitment to prospecting. Any last words?
Ah, just paying tribute to all the prospectors within our company. So proud of them, and they got it. I also love that they're inspiring all the other agents. You get 2 or 3 good prospectors in an office, the whole office starts to look around. Did you see what John's doing? Get those listings, right? And so thank you. Thank you for being an inspiration. Thank you for being willing to take a risk. Thank you for trusting our process as coaches. It is very gratifying and fulfilling to see them up on stage and seeing them do cool things with their families. So yeah, just paying homage to those people that are willing to take the risk. And thank you, Key. Thank you for showing up for so many people and working your process. I love how detail oriented you are. I love your taskmaster. I love that. And I just love your passion for helping people. So
Well,
thanks.
I would say the exact same thing about you. We love you, prospectors, and this is the spring. Spring and summer are your months of making money. Let's go. Let's go get those listings.
Get moving. Thanks, Key.